Josh, as some of the teams head off to lunch, we'll see them all back here at 12:45, but that alliance selection was pretty interesting. Typically you see alliances that will pick teams that are lower ranking than them, but in the top 8, because those are typically the best seeded teams. But at events like this where there are so many teams to pick from and scouting becomes so important, it's not just about your position, it's about what your robot can do. I think that's what we saw out here on the field, where teams were picking not based on their rank, but about how they could do their autonomous or other things like that. What do you think?
Yeah, lots of slotting in there, and really you can see, or maybe we're biased because we get to see every robot 12 times all weekend, but you get to see kind of how these alliances were chosen based off the physical characteristics of the bots. I'm looking especially at our number 1 alliance. My guess, now obviously I'm not looking at anybody's scouting data or anything, but my guess here is that a lot of that is based off of autonomous action and also based off of which game pieces each member of that alliance is going to focus on, or which qualities. Like, for example, NRG has that popping thing going on with theirs versus, the strong autonomous programs of the other two.
Right.
So, and we saw that kind of across all of our alliances. And I think that might have even been what kind of pushed, when our only selection within the top 8 that we saw was when Alliance 6 invited our number 8 alliance captain, the Revolution, to come join them, and they declined choosing to form their own alliance. And I can't help but wonder if some part of that is one side or the other, right? The scouting data did not align with the other person. They said, you know what? We're looking for some different characteristic in our alliances, whatever that is. These decisions aren't always like we don't think you score well, right? All of these teams are quite well scoring. As we saw on our leaderboard, it's a very tight leaderboard. For this level of competition, it really comes down to what does each member bring to this alliance, and will it complement my bot in a unique way rather than just being, say, a duplicate of my own?
Right. I think 2910 has specifically positioned themselves to be able to potentially, we might see that perfect match that we were speaking about before. With that, I think we might take a minute to look at the playoff tournament bracket. If we can get that up on the screen, that should show how we're going to progress through our rounds. You can see that round 1 consists of 4 matches where all the teams will face off against each other. And if they win that, they continue on to the top bracket. But if they lose one of those positions, what happens?
Yeah, so we'll see throughout this, as you need to win all of your matches to stay in the upper bracket. When you lose your first match of the afternoon, you're going to move into what we call the lower bracket. And that's these matches that are down here. Whoop, wrong side of the pen. Those are down here. When you lose one match, so let's say, whichever alliance loses match 1, they're going to come down here and play, whoop, that's not really an arrow unless I do that. They're going to play in match 5 in the lower bracket in round 2.
That's right.
And then whoever loses match 2, they'll also come down here to match 5. From then what happens, since we are running a double elimination tournament this afternoon, whoever loses match 5, they're just out. You know what, we can put an angry face there. They're just out of here. But then you continue onwards throughout the lower bracket for a second chance to make it into our finals rounds at the end of the day.
Right. The alliance that wins that match 13 will walk away with a pretty happy face as they've worked their way back up into that winning bracket and are able to face off against the winner of match 11, I believe.
And we've seen some really spicy and interesting playoff brackets throughout the course of the season. One event that I was at the Yakima Sun Dome, where the entire bracket is what, if you would have just looked at the rankings of the teams going in, you would call it an inverted bracket practically, because we had Blue Alliance victories in almost all of round 1. And eventually the winning alliance of the event had to fight their way back through the entire lower bracket to go on to win the finals.
Right.
And it'll be really interesting to see with so many strong teams here in our playoffs, 50 teams here at the event total, 20, our top, well, not our top necessarily, but 24 of those teams here in the playoffs. It'll be really interesting to see if we have that same kind of depth of field that encourages these really strong, storytelling narratives, if you will, of having to fight your way back through the lower bracket and up.
Yeah, I think the thing I'm most excited for is I can almost guarantee you that in our finals round, we will not see competition that fierce until we are on the Einstein tournament at Worlds.
It's a bold claim, Evan, but I'm going to let you have it because I think I'm inclined to agree, and I'm really excited for this afternoon.
Yeah, well, with that, I think we're going to head out and grab some lunch. We'll be back here, one more reminder, we'll be back here at 12:45, ready to play some robots, where we'll head into match 1 of round 1. That will be Alliance 1 versus Alliance 8. where we'll see who will work their way up to match 7 and who will drop on down to match 5. But with that, we thank you very much for being a great crowd this morning. We'll see you all back here in just a short hour. Thanks.